Alright, it's time to answer a few questions. It's going to be a couple of tough ones in here, guys. Some confessions I have to make, and perhaps even an apology. So, let's get straight into it. Tea Rummy Tea. GMT Black versus Pepsi. Well, the Pepsi, of course, everybody wants it, but I think the Black is the secret jam. Easy for me to say. I own it. It was the first GMT I had, but I love that watch. I just do. It's not as loud as the Pepsi and the Batman. Do you remember? I actually was talking to my AD here recently, and we were marveling at how things have changed over the years, and he's been with them for 22, 23 years, and he said that the Pepsi used to not sell at all because it reminded Italians of the water faucet with hot and cold, the blue and the red. They'd see it and go, oh no, it looks like a bloody water faucet. I'm not buying that. How times have changed. Christopher Negroni, great to see you in here, man. Great channel, by the way, guys. Go check him out, Chris Negroni. Cool channel. What do you do when you run into your own resistance to create? Your own resistance, is that a euphemism for when you're feeling lazy? I feel like it is. Dude, one of my the driving forces behind what I do on the channel is music. Once I get the music in my head of what I might use, that starts driving me. I get the ideas. And I'm not gonna lie, like sometimes a drink, just so you get out of your own shit, you get out of your own way. I'm as bad as anyone when I see stuff I'm doing and I go, ugh, this is crap, I'm gonna start again. And then, you have a glass of wine and you're like, oh, come on, don't be so bloody hard on yourself, O'Malley. Like, look at all the other crap on YouTube. Like, even on my worst day, I'm still putting out half decent content. So your content is pretty damn fucking good, man. So don't be hard on yourself. Have a Negroni, get in the mood, and start loving what you do again. Lange Olenato. Hey man, how are you? Favorite Bordeaux red? Well, it's a long list, but I suppose any of the 5 greats from the Grand Cru classification from 1786. So Latour, Margaux, Lafitte, Aubryon, or Mouton Rothschild. Maybe Mouton, because that made it into the top 5 in my birth year. Good question, thank you. Elite Sophie, how are you, my darling? What's the weather in Venice right now? It's good, don't you think? It's cold, but it's sunny and bright, and that's all that matters. I'm just grabbing my bus here. This is what I call the bus. Jim is saying, one of my favorite videos of yours, the Seiko Alpinist. Yeah, a lot of people love that one. In Cortina, I love a bit of Smetana. Of course, that's the music I use, or some of the music. Also use Tchaikovsky. Any plans for another similar vid where the location fits the watch? Yes, actually, Jim, I just did one in Bologna. I brought the Datejust 41 there, and I ventured around the city with that watch. So if that's kind of your style, you like that kind of thing, a lot of people do, go check that one out if you've missed it. Just gonna pop in here and get a coffee. Keep me warm while I'm going on my walk. So that, don't know.
Vuole un bastoncino per mescolare?
No. Posto, grazie. So weird, they had drip coffee in there. I know that's sacrilege. I'm in the land of espresso and cappuccino, but it's been so long since I've had just a regular drip coffee. Right now, actually, I'm wearing, I forgot to do a wristwatch check. I'm wearing the Ivice IWC Portugueser rose gold. Oak City is asking thoughts on older Omega Speedmaster Broad Arrow 1957 models. I love those. I love the Broad Arrow. I'm a big fan, of course, of the CK2915, the original Speedies. I'm a big fan. If you're thinking of getting one, you have my benediction. In nome Padre et Filii et Spiritus Sanctus. Amen. It's a great watch. Go for it. What do you think of Breitling? I think they're great. I've had a few. I did a video on Sienna with the Windrider cockpit. Go back and find it. And then I had the Chronomat. Stunning dials. The detail on those dials, magnificent. And Manly watches, big chunks of steel. What's your biggest life regret? This is the Quaker factory. Thank you, man. I don't know. You make small mistakes along the way and you regret them. I don't know if I have a life regret. I'll tell you one mistake I make a lot, and I'm going to get to this later in this video, is that quite often I put a lot of faith in people. I put a lot of trust. I assume people are good first. I'm not naturally cynical, and more often than not I wind up, regretting that or realizing I was wrong. I'm gonna get to that later. Oh God, this next one, I swear these are real questions. Who's this guy? That Jonas guy. Our watches assets. Yeah, it's a topic of conversation right now, isn't it? It's honestly shameful and disgraceful and ridiculous that this is even a question. I'm not criticizing you for asking me. I know why you asked me. About 10 years ago, a guy called Bernie Madoff was arrested in New York for being the mastermind of one of the biggest Ponzi schemes in history. The next move for the authorities was to seize his assets. They got his properties. He had 3 or 4. Look at this is cute. Kids all singing. Yeah, they seized his assets, and in there was property, there was art, there were vehicles, of course, cars, beautiful furniture, and watches and jewelry. 46 watches with a combined value of, I don't know, somewhere close to $1 million or something. All of which went up for auction to help recoup some of the money he lost and pay back some of the money to his victims. Watches are most certainly assets. The reason why the question has been in the air is because Brittany Pierce, aka Watch Gringa, has been putting it out there that they are not. If you don't want to consider your expensive watches an asset, if you have a $10,000 Rolex or a $50,000 Patek or a $500,000 Richard Mille or even a $5,000 Omega on your wrist, you bet your ass that's an asset. Simon says wristwatch, Jubilee or Oyster, depends what watch. Jubilee on a date just, without a doubt. Oyster for the manly tool watch. What's the favorite studio you've recorded in? Wow, good question. I did a session there about 5 years ago in Avatar, Studio A at Avatar. I believe that's now been purchased and renamed the Power Station. That was really nice. Very famous room. A great many famous records were made there. I did the session with an orchestra. I was scoring for a record I was producing, and we had a pretty big string section in. I enjoyed the Domena Center in New York as well, just for the scale of that room for larger projects. I was scored a big composition for orchestra and choir there too, and that was a pretty big scale. I did a record way back, I think in 2010. We recorded it in a studio called Clinton Studios, which is also in New York, and they had a piano in there, old Steinway, that had been played by Glenn Gould on the Goldberg variations, and had also been played by Bill Evans with Miles Davis. So I used that piano on the record. It was actually a little bit stiff. You know, they had a more modern, I think a Yamaha or something, that was easier action and easier on the hands. But I insisted on using that Steinway just because I had to. It was such a legendary Steinway, and it has a huge growl from it, which you can hear on the record pretty clearly. Okay, Robert Sobleski, where should be the sweet spot between art and durability in the perfect watch for you? Great question, and somewhat of a loaded question, but I like the way it's loaded. Well, I think watches are the sweet spot themselves. We often give them as gifts to one another and put inscriptions on them. So they really are kind of a meeting point of mechanics and artistic expression. It's, I believe, one of the reasons so many of us are attracted to them in the first place. I think Rolex may have done it better than most, because it's no secret that Rolex are very durable pieces in comparison to their competitors in many cases. I believe Omega are in there too. Like some of these boats going around here that just do the regular ferries, like this thing here has one simple job, and that is to bring people, their cars, from Lido, the island of Lido, over to the mainland. But it's not a pretty boat, is it, at all? It's hard, it's steel. They haven't gone to any length to make it pretty at all, but that's not what it's for. It's not about being pretty, it's about being a workhorse. I think what wristwatches have done is they've kind of brought those two worlds together in a remarkable way, actually. Now that I'm talking about it, I'm realizing it even more. Alan McGregor, watch equals asset, question mark. Try getting a divorce and arguing that your valuable watch is not an asset. Where the lawyers are compiling the division of assets statement. The argument will be whether it is a marital asset, but not whether it is an asset. Been there. Look, the fact that I said it before, the fact that we're even having this discussion is frankly embarrassing. Of course, there isn't any discussion about whether it's an asset. A marital asset, that's an interesting one. if it was a gift, yeah, during your marriage, or maybe you know, a lot of people I know who got married, they were, you know, they gave gifts as watches to one another as well. It's a romantic idea, I think. I like the his and hers kind of idea with watches. That's cool. But yeah, I know. I just, you know, try convincing. I thought about that with Brittany and her husband, Watch Poppy. If God forbid they ever got in trouble with, you know, IRS or finance authorities, and they came to seize all their assets, I want to see the pair of them try to convince the cops that not to take the Daytona and the Aquanaut and so on, because they're only horology and they're not assets because they don't consider them assets. Like, good luck explaining that one, guys. I just noticed something amazing here. Check this out. This is the Man Ray exhibition. Lee Miller and Man Ray. Dang, I'm gonna have to go check that out. Maybe I'll feature it on the channel at some point. Man Ray, if you're not familiar, is one of the earlier experimentalists with photography, where he would take negatives and place objects on them and develop them without using the camera. He'd just develop the negative with an object on it. So the very famous ones are like the feather and the leaf and things like that. They're just pure, like, silhouettes. Very cool stuff. Mocho Mo, Rolex opening new factory. Opinion on how this would affect supply demand. Well, first of all, the new factory is due to be complete in 2029. You know how construction goes. Same rules for everyone. Doesn't matter how much money you have. It'll probably be 2031 or 33 before it's actually complete. It's just because construction always takes way longer. Or else Steve Jobs died waiting for his Apple Center, the big ring thing there in Cupertino, California, to be complete. Second of all, it's one factory, so they have 4. It will be the 5th. I think it was Tim Wright does that live stream. I was on there and he was mentioning he put his name down for a day date, a rose gold day date with olive dial. Stunning watch. I mean, that's a watch I've wanted for ages. And he was told that there are 50 people on the list ahead of him. I had one viewer write to me saying that he was at Heathrow Airport at the AD and had a long conversation with the chap there and put his name down. I don't know for what, maybe a no date sub, something like that. And he was told that there are 13,000 people on the list. 13,000. So, you know, one extra factory, I don't know what kind of difference that's going to make. Doubling their production, I assume, would require 4 more, 8 factories, because there are 4 now. Make another 4, now you can double. Am I being reasonable with that? We're getting 1 more, so we're going from 4 to 5. It really, I don't know if it may alleviate some of the pressure, but I don't think it's really going to affect supply and demand in any significant way. After all, if their production goes up by 20%, she's a cat. She's a cat for today. Meow. Chasing the pigeons. If production goes up, it would make that's 20%. If they add a 5th, here she comes again. Meow. If it goes up by 20%, she's very distracting. It's super cute. All demand has to go up by is 20% to bring us all back to exactly where we are. Do you think demand for Rolex is going to go up by 20% by 2030? or 2031 or whatever, whenever they really finish this thing. I think it probably might. What is the state of the watch market in your opinion? As I said months ago at this point, it's settled since I made that video by Rolex now. Not much has changed. A few of the super hype pieces have come down another little bit. The Royal Oak, I noticed. But for the most part, especially with Rolex, that storm, that fall, has stopped months ago at this point. I'm going to make a video about it this week called The Spike. Where did it come from? Where did it go? Because it's really about that. That's the anomaly. That's the thing that happened. And I will repeat what I said before as well. It's a very good time to purchase because you have that kind of that upper hand still, that leverage against the grey market dealers. On top of that, there was a shake or an impact on consumer confidence. So a lot of people just kind of aren't buying because they're being told that it's going to go down farther. So we're all just sitting around waiting. So it's been months now. I don't know how long they want to wait. Mathis146, your IWC, still in love with it? Yeah, man, I got it on today. Look at that beauty. Stunner. Gentleman's watch. Mechanical Future. You recommended the Design Atelier channel some time ago. Any new suggestions? Thanks. I did. I recommended what's his name? Yeah, Castro, I think is his last name. Design Atelier, that's the name of the channel. Great channel. I still don't know why that channel isn't like the biggest watch channel. New recommendations. Listen, I have to take it easy on. I have to go be careful now with recommendations. Let me tell you why. I often think, well, that guy has only got 300 subs. Let me give him a hand, give him a shout out. The rest is up to him, but at least that little helping hand while you're down there kind of at the very bottom, it can be very disheartening. It can be very tough. But I often wonder why other larger channels of mine wouldn't do that kind of thing more often. And I think I learned the hard way, guys. Because there's another question I've been getting. Came through about 3 or 4 times in this bunch of questions that's connected with this. And that is the Brittany Pierce thing. I promoted her back when she, had a handful of subs. And she went from no one to someone in the watch world overnight practically, and I was delighted. And she was so funny. I loved her channel. I used to laugh my ass off. I don't think she's funny anymore on the channel. That's okay. It's very rare to have someone who's actually funny in the watch world. There's not a whole lot of genuine wit in the watch world. It's one thing we're lacking. It is. So I promoted her, and I love to see a woman come into the watch space. I'm very pro the girls. There's too many men in this room. We need a few of the gentler sex, I got a lot of warnings from people saying, listen, that girl is not who you think she is. And I kept telling everybody to F off, she's sweet, she's nice, she's my friend. And I've just, in the past few months, I've just been, unfortunately, I have to eat some humble pie and admit that maybe I was wrong. She's spewing a lot of stuff, doom and gloom stuff about the market, telling people, of course, that, watches aren't assets, kind of nonsense. Demeaning people for paying over retail, paying grey market price. I just think that's so unfair. I think she has an advantage that others are not lucky enough to have, and I've been trying I've been on a mission of damage control, honestly, with the stuff that she's been putting out. I have a theory. She is a vicar, right? So that's her main job. And a vicar, one must remind oneself, stands up in front of often the weak and impressionable and tells them how there's a bearded man in the sky watching their every move and they'll go to hell if they don't pray and things like this. I think now that she's gained a lot of confidence, she's beginning to kind of turn her, her preaching ways onto us. We're now her congregation, her sermon has been slowly shifting from the church onto her channel. And she's getting philosophical and talking about the wrath of the recession and stuff like that. Forbes magazine, by the way, just put out a thing last week saying, no, the recession's probably going to happen in early 2024 if it happens at all. So this predictions of the future shit is, exactly what I thought it would be. It's just a lot of amateur clairvoyance or people who just love that. They love the drama of the crash of the world, of things turning sour. It just adds a bit of excitement to their otherwise boring lives, probably. But she's, all of those characters have flocked to her channel now because she's regurgitating this stuff, and I think it's unhealthy. I think it's false. I think it's a fallacy to begin with, but I also think it's unhealthy and misleading to the public. And I feel a certain responsibility as another YouTuber that people, I hope, trust. To repudiate these claims and go, no guys, hang on a minute, this isn't. I would do the same with a grey market dealer selling snake oil or whatever. Once you hear BS, you feel like getting up there and using your platform to fight the BS, right? I've said it before, but I think we as watch YouTubers, our standards have to be higher than everyone else's because we are the standard for everyone else. We have to be careful with what we say, and I believe that Brittany has been ridiculously reckless, to put it mildly, of late. And my repudiation of those claims has been, I feel I've had to, meet them head on, because that's the only way they can be dealt with. And her reactions to those things have been nothing less than actually just uncouth and little, for want of a better word, guys, a little trashy, a little low class. Now, behind the scenes, there's been stuff going on, and I'm beginning to regret vouching for this girl. I'll tell you why. I'll give you one example. This is just one. So I send business her way when I can. If somebody wants a watch review done, I suggest her, and I make her as a suggestion, to send some business in her direction. Why not? And I did it recently, way back 6 months ago, with a brand called Nomadic Watches out of Belfast. Young man called Peter Macaulay. Nice man. He's a new father. I can hear his little newborn screaming in the background on the phone sometimes when I talk to him. And he's got a little micro brand. It's modest stuff, homage type watches, and I think they're solid and they're good, and I like to feature every now and then. I like to feature a more affordable watch on the channel. Anyway, I did it for him. It went really well, and he asked me, hey, could you suggest another watch YouTuber? I don't know who to go to. And I said, sure. I said, well, maybe Brittany is the right person for this, And so I put them in contact. I asked her, I said, hey, would you be interested? This guy's paying, I won't say how much he's paying, but it's not life-changing money, but, decent payday. And, the watch is pretty solid. You could check it out on my channel. So she said, yeah, great, wow, yeah. Now, it took her months to reply to the guy's phone calls and emails. And I'm like, okay, she's just a bit airheaded or whatever, it's okay. She eventually, they got in touch and he sent her the watch. And months went by, and I'd speak to him because he'd send me his new designs to ask for my feedback. And I'd be like, oh, great. And then I'd say, oh, by the way, did Brittany ever make your review for you? And it just got worse and worse. He was very patient. She said at first that she really liked the watch. She gave him good compliments on it. But she just started ghosting him. And as time went by, I kept defending her, my usual, like, oh, just give her more time. I know what it's like to be a watch YouTuber and have people waiting for you to review their watch. Sometimes a long time goes by. People, lose their patience. In all of those cases, one thing I never did was ghost anyone. Even with the cases that went, you might say, sour, I always replied to say, hey, just give me a little bit more time. I'm so sorry this is taking so much longer. But give me another month and I'll get it done. I swear. I never ghost anyone. That's just awful behavior. So I reached out to Peter at one point. Hey, just out of curiosity, did Brittany ever?
Hey Oshin, hope you're good. Yeah, Britt has my watch and she was very complimentary of it and all this and really wants to do a review, but she just kind of went dark there and hasn't responded to any messages in probably about a month, to be fair. So yeah, I don't know if she's going to do a review or not, but she's definitely dragging her heels on it. For yourself, yeah, we actually have a new red bezel version coming out.
Then a couple of months later, I'm talking to him about a different watch. I ask again, and he said that she gave the watch away. I'm like, what? He got some text, some wrist shot photo from some guy with the watch on, going, hey, look what I have. She gave it away. I don't know if she loaned it to the guy or gifted it to the guy, but she gave it away without even asking Peter and without doing the review. I started feeling responsible, started feeling embarrassed that I had recommended her for this stuff. And I was also confused. Doesn't she want the payday? Yeah, and if she decided she hated the watch or would be detrimental to her channel, just tell him and send the watch back. Return the watch, tell him, listen, maybe it's not for my channel after all, I'm so sorry. There's your watch back. Or at least tell him what's going on. But she wouldn't tell him anything. And he hasn't heard from her ever since. Now, I recently have been speaking to Peter because I have a new one of his watches that I'm going to feature on the channel in the coming days. And it's beautiful. It's a green diver, a nice Hulk alternative for those who don't have Rolex Hulk money. So I asked him, by the way, any news from Brittany about that? This is the message he left me.
Hey Oshin, yeah, hope you're keeping well, man. Brittany's just been ghosting me, so yeah, that watch is long gone. Never see that one again.
I don't know. I mean, at this point, I'll just pay him for the watch. I don't think the guy can afford to just lose a watch like that. And I don't know why she's just being so disrespectful to him and to me, because I vouched for her and I put them in contact and I recommended her. But I'm just beginning to believe that what people are saying about her is true. She just doesn't give a fucking flying damn. She made this video now about watches not being assets. And I just... It's just such a ridiculous thing to say to people. And I mean, it's a fallacy, it's completely wrong, but it's also just reckless that she would just double down on this frankly pretty fucking dim-witted, stupid claim. And just let's be honest for a minute, let's cut the BS. So I get in the comments to say, don't you think she really means investment, not asset? Isn't she conflating asset with investment and so on? and just on damage control, you know. She brought out the ire of people who just hate the whole idea of money in the watch game. It is a tad unsavory. It isn't all to do with horology and so on, fine, but it's totally part of it. I'd love to be in a position where I could just buy a watch without thinking about the money it costs. Wouldn't that be great? Some people are rich enough to do that. They can just see a beautiful Lange and go, I love it, put down their card and not even look at the price. I can do that in a restaurant. You know, I can't do that in a watch store. So to imply that money has nothing to do with this kind of thing, and some people they're only concerned with what was the quote? They know the value of their watch before even knowing its reference number. A lot of people don't know the reference number of their watch. You have to be kind of a super nerd to know especially if you're into new Omega. Those reference numbers are like, it'd be easier to remember the first 16 numbers of pi than remember those reference numbers. I just saw a guy on Instagram Shorts, they're the Reels. He gets stopped on the street in New York. He has a beautiful Blancpain, military issue Blancpain vintage on his wrist, and he talks about it. He gets stopped by the guy, you know, with the microphone, and he's asked the reference. He goes, actually, I don't know. I just love the watch. I like how it looks. Is that a crime? You know, a lot of people buy the watch because it's pretty and it looks good. Some people buy the watch as a gift. It's an expensive gift. You don't have to know the reference of the fucking watch. And how fucking snobby are you when you demean people for, you know, they want to buy, they save up their pennies, they work hard, and they reward themselves with a beautiful $10,000 Rolex. They may not know the reference or the power reserve or whether it's anti-magnetic or not, but they know that it's a $10,000 Rolex and they've earned it and it looks beautiful. And there's no shame in that. And all of a sudden this crowd came out of like, oh yes, you know, money is such a... no, money is totally a part of it, guys. In fact, many would argue it actually stimulates the watch world in many ways. One guy was so touched by the message that he's like, yeah, I can't even stand it where on Chrono 24 they have a graph with the current market value of my watch. I have to figure out a way to turn that off, he said. I was like, Chrono 24 is a marketplace website. That's like complaining that people were dancing at the ballet. Like, that's exactly what it's for. It's to show you the market. In fact, they are a liaison between buyers and sellers. It's a marketplace website. You're asking, you want to know if you can turn off the very feature it's actually built for? Like, how did he miss this perfectly obvious thing? And I feel a responsibility to go in there and remind them of this insanely obvious elephant in the room. I mean, perhaps there is some website out there that is a ledger of your watches or a catalog where you can put in your details of your watch and a photo, and there's no mention of its monetary value or how much it costs. If that's really what turns your stomach so badly, that can be hidden. But it ain't Chrono 24. They're a website made for the market of watches. What kind of fucking horseshit is this? I feel like I'm on crazy pills. I do. It's hard to stand back and watch utter ridiculous garbage infect the watch world. Brittany she really fucked over Peter. She never called him back. She never emailed him. She never did the review. And she fucking gave the watch away. And now he's such a gentleman. He's like, I guess that watch is long gone. I'm like, no, man, I'll pay you. I'm going to pay you, Peter, for it. And I'll probably never see it myself. But I don't think Peter can afford to just take that one on the chin. So, getting back to my original point, you got to be careful when you recommend certain channels, or recommend channels at all. And this might explain why bigger channels than mine don't do it. They actually might be much smarter about this than I am. They may even love the channel, but they won't recommend it, they won't push it, they won't introduce that channel to other people because maybe they're afraid something like this could happen. That down the line you're dealing with a whole new creature. And Brittany has definitely changed. I mean, she got pretty insulting against me being in her comments, like trying to remind people that this is more about investment than assets. And she's like, if this gets your goat, wait you see what I have cooking up in the Gringa HQ, she said. I was like, oh, okay, you got more fucking vitriol to spew on the general public, the watch buying public. Okay, it's her right to say whatever she wants, but I said, it's my right. You can cook up whatever you want in the HQ, in the Gringa HQ, but it's my right to also advise them not to eat it because it's filled with poison. Guys, keeping tabs on the value of your watch. There's no shame in that at all. There's nothing wrong with that. What if you lose the watch? What if it's stolen? How much money have you just lost? How much is it going to cost to replace the watch? If the watch is insured, the insurance company are going to want to know. You can bet your ass they will. And what if you, God forbid, you fall on hard times and you actually have to sell your beautiful watch, even one that's sentimental to you, because you're forced to, because you have an emergency bill or something to pay? Then you're going to be on Chrono 24 real quick, aren't you? Looking at the graph, including that dude who wants to turn the graph off. You're going to be on there real quick looking to see how much your watch is worth and how much you can hopefully expect to get for it, so you can pay your bills. Brittany herself had a watch stolen, or it went missing, or whatever. Her husband went to pick one up in Paris, an FP Journe, and it mysteriously disappeared. It's a weird story, honestly, the whole thing, and everybody in the watch world has their own theory about what really happened. I made no public statement about it other than just to support them and words of support, and also I shared the serial number around in hopes that maybe it could be recovered. But what did we hear the entire time from Brittany herself during that whole debacle? Time and time again from the woman herself. How much money did she lose? How much money was lost in an instant? How long it took her to save to be able to afford that watch? And when the watch was stolen or taken or whatever, how much money just went poof into the sky? Because that's the immediate damage, isn't it? Of course. Let me ask you guys something. Anybody know the reference number of that watch? Anyone? Other than Brittany herself, naturally. I don't. But we all know how much it cost, right? If it was a $200 moon swatch, who cares, right? Onward and upward. $15,000 FP Journe, not so much. But she spoke about the money the entire time. All of a sudden the conversation was no longer about the horology, was it? It was about the money. And damn straight, it's a lot of money. And if the hypocrisy here wasn't already thick enough that you could cut it with a knife, on top of that, she starts a GoFundMe so that we can help her raise the money to buy a new one. You couldn't make this shit up. The value of your expensive luxury watch is, of course, a factor. Your watch is, of course, an asset. Money is important. It's important to me. It's important to you guys. It's important to Brittany. The dollar value of her watch is definitely important. Make no mistake. And it's important to Peter, who can't just afford to have someone take one of his watches and throw it away, or the equivalent of that, as he starts a small business. Enough, guys. Enough with this. I have to call this stuff out, guys, because sure, people can write in the comments and disagree with Brittany, but even though she might read those, you don't have a bigger voice. I have a bigger voice in the watch world, as she does. She has a very big voice. It's part of the problem. If no one was listening, I wouldn't care. But in the same way as like corrupt cops get called out by good cops around them, corrupt politicians get called out by other politicians, hopefully. Corrupt YouTubers need to be called out by fellow YouTubers because we have the voice. And for any of you tempted to write, oh, why are you picking on the girl? Give me a break. A girl can spread misinformation and BS just as effectively as a guy. In fact, maybe more effectively, because it comes with lovely wrapping, right? It's got that lovely smile and the blowing of the kiss. You might fall for it easier. I think some have. Ciao! Tutto bene? Bene.
Vuoi far il giretto?
No, sto facendo riprese, devo andare a casa. Come stai? Bene? Ah sì?
C'ho un libro adesso.
Ah sì? Sarebbe stato un bel momento.
Come vuoi, vedi tu.
La prossima volta, dai, ti mando un messaggio.
Mandami un messaggio.
Ok, stammi bene.
Ciao, Sean.
Ciao. I'll tell you one thing, I'll be treading way more carefully from now on, recommending other channels. I'll stand by my recommendation of Design Atelier, because I do believe that he has a wonderful channel. But I'm not going to be recommending many channels from now on. I think I've shown my naivete, and bigger channels have shown their wisdom to just steer clear from that kind of thing. Because you never know, a year down the line, that same YouTuber starts getting bigger traction, a bigger audience, and it goes to their head a bit, and all of a sudden we're getting lectured about the wrath. I apologize to Peter. I apologize to you guys for, even if my role in that was small, or you know, whatever my role was, I do feel slightly responsible for bringing this individual into the watch space. I regret it, and I apologize for doing it. I thought I was doing a good thing, and I'm sorry, Peter, for wasting your time and putting you in that situation, man. That's it, guys. It's getting cold now. The sun's after going down. I better head off. Gotta meet some friends for some Thanksgiving celebrations. Let's see if these Italians can make a Thanksgiving turkey dinner. They give it their best shot. If you celebrate Thanksgiving, a happy Thanksgiving to you. If you don't, have a great weekend anyway, and watch out for new content coming soon. Take it easy, guys. Peace.